till now has been a follower, and we now want to be the leader in 6G.
Yeah.
Possible?
You've got something in scale. You've got a huge amount of data gathered from about your product, about that network, that you can then say, well, actually, you know, this applies to Taiwan, this applies to Australia, this applies to New York. I can sell now into those markets. And that's definitely the case when it comes into the private verticals. Paperwork and logistics, something that would have been a stick to beat deploying businesses in India. I think that's certainly diminished significantly, and it's not a blocker for us.
Welcome to IMC 2024, and I have a very special guest with me, Mr. Daniel Lynch. He's Director vRran, ORAN Communications Solution Group, Intel. Welcome, Daniel, and thank you so much for taking our time.
Great to be here. Yeah, it's fabulous. Great to see the volume of people here, the innovation here, the robust conversation here. That's what you get in IMC. Is there's no airs and graces. It's straight in. You know, that's broken. This needs to be fixed. It's great. It's super conversations and a lot of innovation, a lot of attention as well. And it's great to see Prime Minister Modi support the show as well this morning, giving the keynote and give us a good kind of guidance about how we think about deploying AI and really bringing ethics to the fore there. So yeah, it's been a good show, show so far.
This is your first time in India, Daniel?
First time in IMC. I was in India a few times before already. Yeah.
And how excited are you?
Yeah, it's really good. Just the impact of what we're seeing, certainly in my area, in the radio. We've seen the radio over the last, say, 20, 30 years be reduced down to 2 or 3 major players worldwide, right? And within that, the R&D, the thinking, the creativity is very, very enclosed. And you might have the brightest spark in those groups, but very limited structures and views. I said, well, no, we're not going to think about going down that technology path, that commercial path. We've already got our solid path this way. So in my world, in radio access network, we've now democratized that. We've a huge amount of new companies, stakeholders, people coming in at things with completely different approaches. And some of them will be wrong. Well, that's okay. Let them be wrong so that, you know, out of the, 20 things that people try, the 2 or 3 really are successful and will have a massive impact in the network, which will have a great impact on the comm service providers, and also, more importantly, to the end users. Different services, different access. Because right now, I think there's a sense worldwide that when someone buys a cell phone, the operator that buying the cell phone for isn't that high up their kind of their own KPIs. They're like, well, okay, actually, what's the cost of the phone? What's the data rate? The data rates tend to be very similar. So if we can bring that creativity, ingenuity, business and technical, we're now going to start seeing that operators package up things and networks and solutions out to the market that will be very, very different. So then when you're going to the shop in Ireland, I live in Ireland, I go to Air or Vodafone, I say, oh no, actually it matters for me to buying this service, whatever that service be, from that operator, because I think they deliver the best quality service for that. Same here in India, whether it be BSNL, whether it be Airtel, Vodafone, Jio. Yeah, it actually matters. I'm buying this phone or I'm buying this service from the operator because I know they've got the best. So that's the exciting bit that I see for our industry over the next 5 to 10 years.
Daniel, India till now has been a follower. And we now want to be the leader in 6G.
Yeah.
Possible?
India being a follower. Yeah, I think already that kind of mantle is no longer there for India. Number one, I think the India R&D has powered every single company in our industry. My own team. You dined in Neelam, they're our Intel fellow and just senior fellow. They're our leaders. They've been the people pioneering, driving x86 definition within Intel. So the Indian R&D is there, but now in terms of Indian companies, I think that's where the change is really happening over the last 12 to 24 months.
where because you're democratizing and you don't need the massive capital investment that you needed to do in 4G and 5G to enter in. You have a software stack. You can partner up with a management solution company. You can partner up with a provider of what's called the digital unit hardware, a HP, Dell, Supermicro, local options. You can partner up with them, and you can also partner up with radio units. So now all of a sudden, a company that was somewhere between 100 to 300-400 wouldn't have a hope 5-10 years ago. Absolutely, now has got a great shot at entering into this market and then also producing something very different, and then scaling. And that's the thing with you crack the India market. You've got something in scale. You've got a huge amount of data gathered from about your product, about that network, that you can then say, well, actually, this applies to Taiwan, this applies to Australia, this applies to New York. I can sell now into those markets. And that's definitely the case when it comes into the private verticals. You go into a dockyard and you figure out a solution that works here in India. Well, that's going to sell well in the US. So I think it's got a great shot. A lot of leadership across the space from Reliance Jio, from Airtel, CDOT, BSNL, incentivizing, welcoming in, say, okay, I know your product isn't quite there right now, but I'm going to help you out. I'm going to get you through the next 12 to 18 months to make sure your product is good enough, and then I can scale. So there's a lot. The way to enter into the market is a lot easier than it was 5-10 years ago. And also the leaders in this space are making it easier for people to come in. And again, taking those solutions that work in India and then what I'm excited about, I sit down with TCS, for example, and they're saying, we want to deploy in India, but we also want to scale. We want to export to India as well as make in India. We also want to export India's technology and its technology might.
Daniel, how do you rate India's regulatory structure in terms of policy framework? Is it giving you an ease of doing business in India?
Oh, for me, we've never had any issues in terms of at the R&D level. I've been. It's never been a blocking issue for us in any shape or form. In fact, I think there's been a push now to incentivize and grow business through state sponsorship, and that's is it as clean, as efficient as maybe China? And do we want to go all the way there where there's no delineation between operator and government and owner of the premise? Probably not. I think that's unrealistic for any country to be as that efficient. But those inefficiencies, the draw the contract, actually create a lot of creativity. So I'm okay with that. So I think paperwork and logistics, something that would have been a stick to beat deploying businesses in India, I think that's certainly diminished significantly, and it's not a blocker for us.
Among the emerging markets, where is India placed in your list?
Emerging markets. I think it's, if you look at what's happening right now in ARPU, the revenue per user that the operators are, again, it's now at a outside India perspective, actually it's becoming, it's a low margin, tough to win market. Yeah, energy is tough, but energy is tough everywhere. But how can we make money from it in India? I think again that's now shifting. So just the money in the market, and then you're at the dawn of really kind of we're deploying 5G, but we're also now deploying 5G at scale, which will open up new services. Again, India as a growth company, a growth country, it's a huge opportunity there. So I would say, for me, emerging markets, number one for us.
So vRran and ORAN have gained significant traction recently. How do you see their adoption shaping the future of telecom in India?
I think it's back to that. It's the fact that you're making it easier to enter. We're just off a panel where it was called XRAN, and the X was talked about. Any RAN, you could put in your own kind of variable, whatever X would be. But actually, X was used before ORAN, And it was a industry push by ourselves, AT&T, and a number of other companies, because we were in the 4G era where you had your DU, you had your radio unit top of the tower, and your digital unit bottom of the tower, and the connection between the two was proprietary. There was pushes to do it standardized, but it was very proprietary. And then we got together and said, well, hang on, can we standardize this, guys? Can we work together? It's not that complex. It's not a big thing. It's more of a lock-in than a USP that they can sell and differentiate versus their competition. And since then, we've grown into ORAN and now vRran, and it's really just opened up the entrance.
Okay.
So that's for me, that's been a really great transition and opening up for new companies. And we're dealing with loads. Like if we look at, so we license out our Flexion software, right? We give that away free of charge. And it's a couple of different kind of business models. We work with some of the major players like an Ericsson and Samsung, say, this is our software. This is the algorithms that you implement, and this is what we see efficient way of doing things. This is how much so they'd use that as a kind of yardstick for their software. They won't use our software, but they use it as a benchmark.
Okay.
And then there's 200, 250 other companies in worldwide, and then a lot of them here in India are licensing software again free of charge, and then that's a leg up for them. It's a huge starting point for them to get going, so they don't have to build huge amount of just the basics, and then they can put their innovation and their commercialization then on top of it. So it opens up, it helps. Again, you don't have to be a 5,000 person company. 100 to 300 or 400 is actually perfectly fine.
Okay. So what is Intel's vision and roadmap for India?
I think there needs to be that, and we are doing it in terms of our own leadership teams, right? We went from we would have a collection of teams reporting into US-based managers. Now we have localized general managers here in India, because for two things. Number one is that we believe in the growth in India for Intel products, and also we believe in the growth of innovation coming out of India. So and the lessons learned. So I think that's the overall corporate shift is rather than your major GM is over here in the US or wherever and worldwide, and you're feeding in. No, the kind of center of gravity is shifting, and the responsibility in terms of how we look at a P&L. So India as a region now has its own P&L. So you look at that within the various different groups. So, okay, what are you doing for your business? How you're tailoring your products? Are you growing your team to say, okay, I'm selling into this market in Delhi. It's this amount of requirements. I need next gen silicon, next gen software to deliver on those requirements. So it's really kind of shifting from a worldwide view and India feeding into now India being a pillar of how we define our products and software going forward.
So what exactly has changed for India in last 1 decade?
I think there's been the major things. I think in the telco world, I think a lot of people would say Reliance Jio has been a massive game changer in how they've rolled out technology and given access to services to a vast amount of community that wasn't there already. And I think that's been probably the biggest game changer. And that type of access to the networking to services to every market has been a massive uptick for us as we look at the overall market across from data center all the way through to RAN.
So Daniel, what are your plans post this event?
Meetings.
Meetings.
Yeah.
No visit to any state?
No, I'm a classic small kids at home. So I come in, do my work, and get home. My wife is she's double jobbing right now with small kids and her own work. So we for me typically when I do a trip, it's in and out, no matter where in the world it is. So I flew in last night. I'm flying back out on Thursday morning, and that'll be the same if I'm going to the US it's 2 days over, come back straight
Oh,
back.
you should spend some time with your
When the
family
kids
in
are,
India.
that's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Why not?
Yeah, no, that's a great shout. Yeah, when they get
And
when they get a bit
and
older.
now your holidays also approaching, no? Your New Year celebrations, you can plan it in India.
There you go. Great suggestion. Thank you.
Goa is the best place to be.
Where's that?
Goa.
Okay. Yeah, perfect.
Thank you, sir, Daniel,
you.
so much for your time. It's
Yeah.
so pleasure speaking with you.
It's great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity for this. Thank you.
Thank you so much.